New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hi, and welcome to this week's Ernest Holmes Science of Mind and Spirit conversation series. I was about to say lecture series. No, that was last year. Today it's a conversation. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Laura Topper. Oh, wobbly table. And it's great to be with you. I know that if you're here, I know it would be great for you to leave a comment in the chat, be a part of this conversation, because we are going to have such a great time today unraveling this few pages, which are, they're a treasure chest of wisdom, of knowledge, of information, and of instruction for our lives. So I'm just really excited to be here. I'm just going to say I'm just feeling, well, let me take myself out of the screen. I feel really called to say this as we are in love with this philosophy. We know this philosophy works for our lives. We understand this practice can absolutely change and transform so much about the way that we live on a moment by moment basis. And the man who pulled all of this together, who succinctly analyzed for years, researched, looked at all sorts of other great writers, teachers, knowledge bearers, healers, and pulled together strands of religion and science and philosophy. And this, amongst many other books, this is the textbook that is the secret code. But it's not secret. I didn't mean it like that. I just meant that if we can really devote ourselves and dedicate ourselves to this, we have within us the ability to unlock, to untap the wisdom of the ages and to apply this to our lives. And this is why this is so fantastic, is because it is applicable. It is a practical spirituality. It's a practical teaching that allows us not just to look at it and think, well, what am I doing with this? He gives instruction all the way through the book, all the way through. There is direct instruction, and it's up to us to read it and to reread it and to work with teachers and practitioners and ministers and those that are creating study groups and to really delve in to get clear for our lives. And that's the beautiful thing about Centers for Spiritual Living and this ministry, New Thought Media Network, and what we offer is that we allow this portal for the deeper exploration of this work. So if you're here right now, welcome. This is exciting because what we're looking at is this final piece of the first four pieces. We've looked at the thing itself, what it does, the way it works, what it does. Last week with Reverend Victoria Bombery, which was an incredible understanding and wisdom that she was sharing. And today we are moving on to how to use it. So if you have this with you, and hopefully your book is in a better state than mine is, this is like years of scrolling through the pages. If you have this with you, then I invite you to grab your copy of this right now, because you can follow through with what I'm going to be moving through. And we're beginning on page, well, it begins on page 51. And it's a few pages, not many, but there's a lot in here. So we're going to begin. And where I'd like to begin with this is actually on the last page of this section. Welcome in, leave your name, your chat, your heart, whatever. This is a conversation. So let's converse with this. I'm going to begin at the back of this chapter here on page 60, because I love this. And I think that this kind of just summarizes some of it, which I want to go ahead with from here. A new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. That's the piece. A new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. This is the line in line with evolution of the great presence, and nothing can hinder this process. This last section of this piece, how to use it, this last section, I believe those 4 words, how to use it, this is the key to all of it. Because what he is saying with that, how to use it, he's telling us that we can use it. He's saying that this is something that we can apply into our lives. There is a science to this. There is an order. There is a way. There is a practice. And yet we can use it. It is available. And so what he's doing is, again, is he's cementing, if you like, this relationship that we are being called to foster and to harness with the divine. We're being called to open up to our own understanding of the connection, of the unity that we already are, because there's nothing that we need to unite with. We're already united, and we're all already one as the one in the one. So he's telling us how to use it. It's very clear. You're going to use this, and this is how to do it. And this chapter, these few pages, are direct instructions for us to be able to do this. And he outlines these instructions in a way where he weaves it in with examples, with understandings. And we have to read through that. We have to read this very carefully, because the instructions are here. There is a lot of, you must, they should. He's saying this is something that can be done. And to do this, this is how we have to approach this. This is how we have to approach this way of using the thing itself. So we begin by knowing that we only know as much as we can prove in actual demonstration. So as open as we are, and the more open that we are to knowing that we can prove this for ourselves, then we start to begin to see and feel and experience the demonstration of it in our lives. And what are we demonstrating? What is it that we're demonstrating? Please leave your comments here, your ideas, if you like, in the comment, because this is what this is all about here. What are we demonstrating? We're demonstrating a greater expression of the divine through each of us, through us as individuals. We're opening up to being that greater living expression, because we are finite in our minds, and yet we know we are dealing with the infinite here. So this is a theory, and the theory of any scientific principle goes beyond its application. So what he's saying is that as we begin to use this, we will start to see the effect. It will outpicture and evolve as the ripple of our lives. So the proof is in the actual demonstration. And as we start using it, we see our lives change. If there's any field of research where the practical application is necessary, It's in the metaphysical field. The reason being that the principle of metaphysics seems less tangible to the average person than does the principle of other sciences. So he's laying this out very clearly here on page 51 of the Science of Mind textbook. He's saying that he understands this isn't easy. This is his way of saying it. He understands that we have to have a certain belief or faith in the non-physical, in the intangible. He understands that this is not easy because we as humans have a tendency to believe what we see, not see what we believe. And he, that Wayne Dyer wrote a book on this, believing what we're seeing or seeing what we're believing. And Ernest Holmes, with his heart here, he's saying, I know that this isn't easy, and yet I know it's possible. And what makes it possible is the belief and the faith. When we have that faith in the unseen, in the intangible, in the non-physical, then we're even more aware of our divinity, the connection that we are with the divine as the divine. So he's saying really that, the average person, I love the way, really, the average person, what is the average person? But what he's saying is that we can go beyond the norm. And the norm may be to believe that it's not possible. So he's asking us to take this leap of faith. And that takes, we're in the, to be in that leap means that we're in the unknown ourselves. We're going into the unknown. Well, how can I believe in something that isn't, I can't see it, I can't feel it? You're asking me to believe something that doesn't exist? Yes. That's a leap in the very beginning. This is the first step that he's saying is how to use this, is to really conjure up that faith and to surrender to this divine expression that I know of as God, as source. So ask yourself this question: are you ready to surrender? And if you've said yes to this before, are you ready again? Are you ready to surrender again? To even go deeper into this believing and having this faith of this intangible, of the unseen, the non-physical, because we're always being given opportunity to open up to our faith. We're always being given a deeper opportunity, even when we think we've got there. And yes, I believe. And yet, if something isn't demonstrating in our lives the way that we feel we want it to, we can look at the outpicturing and say, right, okay, so what really is my belief system around this? So I'm going to move on to the next page, because onto page 52, where he talks about the law, the creative law, and that this law is infinite, and that in the infinite there are the potential and the possibilities are infinite, and that we are the ones that are limiting ourselves in our finite minds, and yet the law is right where we happen to be at any time. So he's telling us we don't need to go somewhere for this. We don't need to be in a special building or in a certain place or have a certain spot. It's right here, right now, and this law is working. It doesn't have a tea break. It doesn't have a rest. It is working all the time, and it is responding to the atmosphere, to the greater kind of percentage of the atmosphere of our thoughts and our feelings and of our intentions. So we don't need to rush anywhere. We don't need to say that we need to be anywhere or do anything special. We can use this law right here, right where we are. It's flowing through us because it flows through everything. And since we exist, it must be in, as, and through us. Yes, because we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. We're not separate from it. And so if it is using itself through us, then we have this ability to use it as us. And it must flow through us to manifest for us. So it's not something that we're trying to get. It's not something that we're trying to change as something in our outer experience of life or in the material world. This is an opening up in our own hearts and in our own minds to allowing this express to come through, to involve through us, so that we can then open up to express it. So it has been proved that by thinking correctly and by a conscious mental use of the law of mind, we can cause it to do definite things for us and through us. By conscious thinking, and I think this is one of the first steps he's saying here of how to use this. By conscious thinking, we give conscious direction to it, and it consciously or unconsciously responds to our advance along the line of our conscious or subjective direction. There's a lot in there. So we have our conscious mind where we make our logical decisions and choices and the ideas that we have of life, and the moment by moment kind of conscious thinking that we have that's available for us here. And then we have this subconscious arena, which really is 95% of what is that repeated pattern of our of where he calls it the hangover. It's what used to be. It's like yesterday and the year before and the year before and the year before, and everything's kind of in this kind of sea within us, held in our subconscious. And if the kind of the atmosphere of this is negative or unsupportive or in fear, if we're carrying a lot of old fear and old doubt or unsupportive doubt and fear, then this is going to be the kind of transmission that we are shining out, or that the creative law will be picking up from us. So, it's like, and this is what they call a spiritual bypass, when we kind of put, yes, everything's wonderful, it's great. And yet we know, yes, we want to be in that place. And yet if we're like that, if we're in that place, and yet there's all this doubt and fear going on because really we feel there's something here that isn't quite right. I want to do this work, this forgiveness, this healing, this shifting, this letting go, and I'm not doing it, then we can't fake it. We can't fake it, not with the creative law, because that's what's going to be the general atmosphere of us and the higher percentage of what we're setting our intention for this life in the unseen. That's what's going to be picked up. And that's often when we're a house divided, and when we don't live the life that we think we want to live, and it's not happening the way we think it should be happening, because we're phasing over it, we're glossing over it and pretending. So this is why in this teaching, we teach to own our feelings, to own the stuff, to own the emotions, to own what doesn't feel good, to honor what doesn't look right, to work into the forgiveness, to take responsibility for our lives, so that then we're in our authentic place. And it doesn't mean living in that place and setting up our house there. It means doing the work so that we move through, so that then our general atmosphere is one that is clear, where we have worked this out. This is in the instruction here. This is what he is saying. So he's saying that, our thinking is not only conscious, it's subconscious. And we can be responsible for that. We can take responsibility for our lives. He's saying this in here. This is how to use it. This is how to use the law. So a lot of times we say affirmations because we kind of trick ourselves into the feeling of that affirmation. And yes, okay, I what's an affirmation? If somebody isn't in perfect health, we can affirm perfect health. But what we're doing with the affirmation, what I find really powerful with the affirmation, is to go beyond what I think it needs to look like in the material world and come back to spiritual truth. So when I'm saying I am the divinity of health, I know that this is the spiritual truth of who I am. And then the affirmation feels amazing. And then my subconscious shifts and changes. And then I start to see, because the creative law is magnetized to what I am saying and it is responding in the way that is the authentic way. So ask yourself, ask yourself here if there is anything in your heart that you know, or anything in your mind where you know that there's a healing or there's a revealing that you've ignored. This is part of the how to use this. This is the exploration of our lives. This philosophy is not purely about reading a book, putting the book down and say, yes, I've done that. It's an instruction manual. It's not what it's about. The science of mind and spirit is a roadmap for our lives. It's an opportunity for us to self-inquire, to do the work so that we can open up to living this greater expression of the divine that is the divine through us. This is what Ernest Holmes discovered for himself. And this is why he has written it all down, because he wants us to know it. It's his legacy. He wants us all to live these fulfilled, amazing lives, and we can use this. So another part of this that he's saying further down on the page 52 is that it does follow that if we believe that it will not work, it will work by not working. It's the same thing, it's what we believe. If we believe that something isn't going to work for us, then that's going to happen. And that will be it working in that way. One thing that really strikes me as really powerful to talk about is on page 53, where he then then gives another instruction, because I've kind of marked this out as instructions. God does not punish. God does not punish. Now, he put those 4 words in there. God does not punish the mathematician who fails to obtain the right answer to his problem. So just continuing with this knowing here in this conversation, which I'm having on my own, you're welcome to join me if you like. Just to continue this, God does not punish, that we are the ones that hold our own superstitions about God, about life, about religion, about spirituality, about everything. And we can inquire with this sentence here, God does not punish, because if we believe on some level that we're being punished for wanting a better life, for wanting a different life, for wanting a fulfilled life, because we should be, we're not deserving of, or we're not it's not for us, or because of, we're often told, things, for example, like money is the root of all evil. Well, it's not money, it's the love of, and that you will be punished if, and because biblically and historically in religiosity, the people of that time were God-fearing. And that's how religion has taken on these beliefs through the thousands of years, that, there is to be a fear in God. Through the teachings of Jesus, where this shifted, and the heart was open to love and forgiveness, and yet the myth of that fear has continued into our lives today, where we subconsciously will make these decisions based on whether we're going to be punished by God or not. So let's get this clear here. This is what he's saying. Thank you. Yes, something in us knows that we're called to a greater life. What a beautiful thing to say. And Ernest Holmes, of course, knew this. And so that's why this book is here. That's why this philosophy and this teaching is here. God does not punish the mathematician The thought of the thought of the unsolved problem does punish him. So we punish ourselves. That's the key here. We put ourselves through the misery. We put ourselves through the suffering. Now, I heard this incredible talk once by August Gold. I love August Gold, Reverend August Gold. If you look her up, she's phenomenal. And she gave this amazing talk. It's on YouTube. And she says, there is only one thing that is wrong. There's only one thing that's wrong. She gave a whole talk and she got everybody's appetites kind of whetted and it was at the very end. Well, I knew what she was saying. There's only one thing that's stopping us and failing us in the way we fail ourselves. And that is the idea of separation. That is the idea that we are not one with the divine, that we are separate from it, that we are somewhere else and it is somewhere else and it's over there, out there, and we're here. And then we have this idea that something out there is going to punish us for not behaving properly or for wanting too much or for wanting to experience an amazing life, that we're going to be punished. Ernest Holmes teaches that, the past is not the precedent for the now. The past does not determine, because in quantum physics now we know that in every now, in every moment, we are the observer of our lives. And we're changing that observation through the way that we see the wave transform into the particle. We're particularizing our lives in every moment, and we're responsible for that. We're responsible. So we are the ones that create the punishment for ourselves. So he's asking again for forgiveness, self-forgiveness. Here, punishment. If he's talking about punishment, I'm knowing that he's also talking about forgive. This is how to use this, is to forgive ourselves, to be in this place where we have a clear heart, a clear mind, a clear way forwards, so that the creative law that we are one with becomes this beautiful, we're co-creating, it's a companionship. Of course, it's impersonal. It doesn't care whether we put on a black t-shirt or a white t-shirt or a yellow t-shirt or a red t-shirt. I mean, that's our personal choice. And yet when we want to attain a more fulfilled expression or be a more fulfilled expression, we use this law. And we do this with these steps here. So we're forgiving. We're not going to punish ourselves. We're one with the divine. The divine, it lives and breathes and has its being through us. And the original spirit is harmony, he says here on page 53. The original spirit is harmony. I'm just looking, there was a lovely, hello. Thank you. Reminding ourselves that everything is God that everything is God, and God is the solution to any problem. Absolutely. And you know how we do this by remembering and knowing these qualities of God that Thomas Troward identified as love and light and peace and joy and harmony and wisdom and beauty and truth. I'm adding a few in here. And when we live into the divine template of this is our solution. And that really causes us to ask ourselves, am I punishing myself? What am I punishing myself for here? I can look at this and I can do the forgiveness work necessary for my evolution, my soul's evolution. So I've marked so much here, but the practice, I'm going to move to page 54 if you're here. I'm just finding this really beautiful. It's so interesting. The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let this inner spirit guide us with the conscious knowledge that the law of the Lord is perfect. So whatever may look or feel imperfect in our lives as we look out onto the landscape of the material world that we are living in, the physical, whatever feels uncomfortable or uneasy or just feels upsetting, especially, you know, if we're looking at the news or watching the media or anything that's going on, we know that as we look to the law of the Lord, the law of the divine, of God that I know that is the law and the love, that as we do this and turn to this more and more regularly in our own hearts, we clear the way and we live from that place rather than from the condition of what we're seeing. Ernest Holmes never, ever asks us to turn and deny that condition, whereas in Christian Science that may be the case. But with religious science, no, we don't deny and turn from this as if it's not existing. We're not an idealistic philosophy. We really know this is here, it's real, it's tangible, it's the material expressed. But what he's saying is, let's be clear here. Let's not make this out here the experience that we want to base our foundation of our lives on. Again, he's luring us into this unseen, into the invisible, into the non-physical. This is where we know the love. This is where we are in with the infinite. And when we finite, when we come into the finite and we particularize our lives in certain ways, and then we put a meaning on it, we're just making that meaning what we think it should mean based on our own memory, our own experience, our own beliefs, our own habits. So the huge piece here in all of this is to loosen in our minds and in our hearts, and coming into that place of this is an experience that I'm experiencing. And from here, I can see it and know it as the love of the divine, rather than judging pieces of it and liking this bit and not liking that bit. We're freeing ourselves up and saying, well, it's all God expressing, the whole lot. The bits that I think should be happening and shouldn't be happening is like, let's remove that judgment from all of it and turn to this place, or be from this place where, well, it's all God expressing. Just breathe that. So as I'm moving through here, because I'm realizing that there are pieces of this that I would really love to delve into, and yet they're going to take more than 10 minutes. This for me is like a 3-hour thing, just these few pages. Right here, he says on page 55 at the top, we must stop and declare that any images that we're not happy with, any of these images are their limitation. They're neither person, nor place, nor thing. They have no power, personality, or presence, and no real law to support them. So this is what he's just saying, what I've just said in his beautiful way, that it has no power. Once something has materialized into the tangible, it is powerless. And this is where, when I said that expression before and brought that as an example of the root of the love of the root of money is the root of all evil. No, the love of money is the root of all evil. When we place our focus on the external and make that the determinant for what our mood is, what our thoughts are, what our intentions are, then we are putting our power into the thought that has already materialized, it's like the effect. It is powerless. The power is in the cause, the first cause. The power is in the divine. The power is in the piece before. You know, the teaching symbol is the circle, which symbolizes the divine, and then the V, the involution and evolution. And then we have the spirit and the law and the body. And you notice the V is where the body is. It's a tiny point. It's like it's finite. We can't do anything with that. What we can do with is the divine, which is the infinite. And this is where we work from. And we hold our mind and our heart open to allowing the infinite to express through. And we tell the infinite how we want this. We want it as love, as the highest light. And then this is what we see outpictured in our lives. It's beautiful. This is how to use it. So the time will come, he says, I love this, on page 55, when we will let our, in quotes, conversation be in heaven. Isn't that amazing? I mean, I know Science of Mind, the vision is a world that works for everyone. Okay. That's the vision statement of science, of Centers for Spiritual Living. And I think to get to that place, if we all had our conversations as heaven, this is like everyone in the world conversing on this level, at this vibration, at this frequency. This really moves me. It's like brings me to tears. If we were all doing this, we wouldn't be seeing and experiencing and witnessing and reading and bombarded with all the stuff and the things that don't make us feel good. If we all had all our conversations from that place, and we all set our intentions from that place, and actually not only set our intentions, but lived them day by day, moment by moment, really meaningfully, really intentionally, with attention and with awareness, living in that place, because heaven is a state of being. It is not the afterlife. It is a state of being right now. And if we were all doing this, you know, and refusing, he says, to talk about or read or think about things that ought not be. Well, of course, as I said before, we're not going to push those things to the side and pretend they don't exist. We could just live from that place. Oh, look, Facebook. Yes, I don't know your name. Facebook user, thank you. If you want to put your name in, you're welcome to. I love what you're saying. And Wayne is here also. I'm going to give a big shout out to Wayne in a moment. And this is amazing. It would be like John Lennon's song, Imagine, wouldn't it? It would just be like that. And can we imagine that? Can we really imagine that? It brings tears to my eyes, because it's a possibility. It's a potential that's waiting to happen. And he's saying this, he's writing this. He transitioned yesterday, 135 years ago. So 115 years ago, maybe, he was beginning, or earlier than that, he was beginning to understand all of this. He was beginning to understand this and do the reading. He picked up Emerson from his parents' coffee table and started reading Emerson. And this opened his mind to the transcendence. And so Ernest Holmes, you know, that's why this book is so big and bold, is because this is so many thoughts and feelings and all packed in here. I would say the first four, if you get the first four and read them and read them and read them, the thing itself, the way it works, what it does, how to use it, you're kind of there. The rest is like an explanation on that, but these are the first four pieces, and they're very important. So that conversation, that heaven conversation, we are in the world and of it, and it is good, and it is so. The world is all right when we view it correctly. And, you know, I have written down here, because there are so many ancient sayings for this and metaphors for this. You know, it's not to see the world as it is. It's to see the world as I am. This is what I've been saying. When we see the world as it is, we're seeing it from a finite, limited perception. And then is that how we're going to live it? When we see the world as I am, as the I am, we're opening our hearts. This is how to use this, to open our hearts, you know? I'm getting very passionate about this here. So let me just, before I go on, because I have a few moments left, I am going to say hello to Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you for being here and for being so present and for these words that you are saying. Divine right seeing. Divine right seeing. We need to be selling glasses on New Thought Media Network or giving them away. Divine right seeing or taking them off. When we see the world as I am and not as it is, we lift that veil. There is one thing that is stopping us, separation. So when we are in the place of the I am, the heaven as that place of being, that state of being, seeing the world as I am, that divine right seeing, then we are open to the infinite, the possibilities and the potential of those amazing aspects of the divine and of living them in every moment. This takes a lot of awareness. Oh, Laura, so great to be here with you. Beautiful Laura, Rev Robert's gorgeous wife. I love Laura and all that you bring to life and to the network here. And there was another really lovely one here. Yes. Ernest Holmes was, Mark Gilbert. Hello, Mark. Reverend Mark. So great to be here with you. Holmes was so ahead of his time, and Reverend Mark is also. And I love it that, I'm here on this conversation series with Reverend Mark, who is just incredible and so has so much wisdom and knowledge of Ernest Holmes, an incredible library of books and research. And Reverend Mark is absolutely going to be lighting up this conversation over the next few weeks, I know, with his idea of Ernest Holmes. So we have 2 minutes left, and I have not completed this at all, because it was 4, 5 or 6 pages, and on all of these pages there are many instructions. The one thing that I will maybe just finish on here is on page 59, where Ernest Holmes says one should treat any given proposition until they prove the principle, no matter how long it takes. We should treat until we get results, until there comes into our objective experience the actual outpouring of our subjective words. This chapter goes very deeply into the use and application of spiritual mind treatment. So this is, to read these four chapters together and to keep rereading them, you're going to get an amazing idea of the steps, and underline them. If you have your book, do, what all of us do is mark them out, mark your book out and underline them. And the treatment, the spiritual mind treatment, is what he is coming to here, that we use this spiritual mind treatment to change and transform our own consciousness so that we get to that place where we are seeing life, we're experiencing life from the I am, not from as we see it, not from as what it looks like, from what we know, who we know we truly are. So we're using this, how we're using this is by surrendering to the divine, knowing the truth of who we are, and dissolving any idea of separation, any idea of separation. And we do this with spiritual mind treatment. We do this with affirmative prayer. We do this in meditation, in contemplation. We do this by reading this book and taking in the words in tiny sentences, very digestible pieces. And we go over and over them in our own minds until we get to understand it in a way that feels right for us. And that's what we're doing here on this conversation series. So I just feel really grateful and blessed to be here and to be sharing with you and shining light on Ernest Holmes. Yeah, thank you, Wayne. I'm going to just remind you while you're all here, because I did do this at the beginning of the show, that Ernest Holmes of his birthday. And so, thank you, Laura. We are blessed by you too. It's amazing to be here. And if you have any questions, please, you can send them into the network on ntmedia.org and we will answer them, or you can put them on through Facebook in Facebook Messenger. That any questions, or put them here in the post, and I'll look back and answer any questions that you might have about this. I'm going to put the banner up here now. New Thought Media Network is a CSL focus ministry doing amazing, incredible things with its intention and its vision to share this teaching to people around the world, so that everyone has the ability to understand this philosophy in a deeper way and to bring it into their lives. And if this is something that moves you and feeds you and touches your heart, then you are able to donate to be in the consciousness of this intention. And there is the website, ntmedia.org. The link is down below. You can donate, and you can donate any amount you like. You can be a committed monthly giver or a one-off donation, whatever you feel like. The link is there. We all, the presenters, we all take part in this, knowing that as we do this, this beautiful ministry thrives and grows and expands and reaches people everywhere around the world. And so we are all blessed, and it's great to be here with you. And next week, yes, Wayne, we're in our golden bubble of peace, absolutely. And brilliant, bright blessings to all of you for the rest of your day, wherever you are in the world. Have an amazing day. And we will be back with the lecture series next Saturday. And there are also broadcasts that will be coming out today. So stay here, stay tuned in, like, subscribe, and share New Thought Media Network. Until next time.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome OM Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Heckerland Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajin, thank you for your very generous donation. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.